Welcome to Rugby World on the Deuce. Hi, everybody. I'm John Morgan, joined by my colleague Phil Noonan, all the way in from Sydney, Australia. We're coming to you from beautiful, windy San Francisco, California, the city by the bay. Today we have a historic matchup. It's the Russian Bears up against the American Patriots in Rugby League competition. It's the first time these two countries have ever met in 13-a-side rugby. Phil, you've been around Rugby World and rugby for a long time. This is an exciting matchup.
Oh, it's a great matchup. It's a natural rivalry, and it's a chance for the Russians to get back for what happened to them in 1992 and what I like to call the miracle on grass.
It was raining hard. We didn't care. We were just ready to play the Russians and see what happened from there. The game was close. It was within a try. Basically, we were running out of time. The Russians, we got 5 tackles on them, I believe. They put the kick up. Went probably about 10 meters out from our end zone. We went ahead and picked it up and ended up bringing it down. Ball went through probably 4 players' hands, and Der Studevan made a great dive at the end for a try. That tied it up. Sudden death overtime. We ended up putting a lot of pressure on the Russians. The ball got turned over back and forth a couple times. Finally, Russians turned the ball over probably about midfield, and Rory Lewis picked up the ball and scampered in for the try that won the game for us. And it was our first and only win at the Sydney Sevens so far, and it was great to be there, and it was very exciting and something I'll never forget.
Well, the Russians say that was only sevens. Now you're going to play them in a real game, full-length game, 13 men aside, full rules. How do you feel about that?
I'm ready to go. I mean, this is definitely something that we've looked forward to. We've known about the game for probably about 6 months, and the guys are all ready to go. It's going to be a hard-hitting match. I believe we have a little more size than the Russians, and they're going to have to take us down, and we keep ball possession and just take it to those Ruskies.
Well, we got a historic matchup for you tonight between the USA and Russia, and it's being played at historic Kezar Stadium. That's the place where Y.A. Tittle used to throw to R.C. Owens. It used to be the 49ers' home in the 50s and 60s. Phil, overall tonight, though, in the game, who do you like?
Well, you have to favour the USA. They're on their home turf. They have the incentive of wanting to make it a double, having beaten Russia in 7s and 13s. Russia has the revenge factor, but I think the biggest factor in the game will be this win. It's a 10 to 15 point win. Whoever runs with that in the first half needs to go in at halftime with a 10 to 15 point advantage.
Well, before we get to the game, we got to explain the rules between 7-man rugby and 13-man rugby. Let's go back to Tony Atkinson in Sydney, and we're finding out that Tony's got a pretty good fan club here in the States. Tony?
The Rules of League, brought to you by AT&T International Long Distance. We help put your world within reach.
Hi, John and Phil. Looks pretty cold there in San Francisco, but it's a beautiful day here in Sydney, and I'm spending it at the famous Bondi Beach. Now, the American Patriots and Russia are relative newcomers to the game, so we're likely to see a lot of forward passes. So, let's look at exactly what a forward pass is.
Caruana's pass looked marginal, but the referee said it was forward.
As I've said before, forward passes are illegal in rugby league. While you'll never see a forward pass as obvious as the one thrown last year by Gary Lambert of the American Patriots, players often halted for an inadvertent or sometimes intentional forward pass. Whether a pass is forward and whether it is intentional or not is a judgment call by the referee. An intentional forward pass will result in a penalty.
And the referee's calling it back, though. He says the last pass was forward.
Intentionally forward too, his words. So I'll be interested to have a look at this one on the replay. Here it is now. Oh, well, that's a good pass for Mike.
Then a forward pass, Annesley has got it.
An accidental forward pass results in a scrum, with the ball being put in and usually won by the non-offending team.
So, throwing a forward pass usually means losing possession. And just like American football, possession is everything in rugby league. In fact, there's a lot of similarities with American football.
There are 13 players on each team, and they play both defence and offence. Possession is limited to 6 downs, called tackles. Just like American football, the aim is to score touchdowns, called tries. And you must actually touch the ball down in the end zone to get the 4 points. The kick after the try is worth 2 points, the same as a goal kicked from a penalty. And a field goal, which is a drop kick from general play, is worth 1 point.
Naturally, I hope the American Patriots can make it a 2-0 against Russia. But most of all, I hope it's a great game and the beginning of a regular USA-Russia Test series. Back to you, John and Phil.
Well, thanks, Tony. From Sydney Harbor over to my shoulder to the San Francisco Harbor. Quite a difference in time of 17 hours. These cities are pretty similar. Tonight's lineups, though, they aren't similar. Let's take a look at them. The Russian Bears, a mixture of students and professionals, mostly from the Moscow area. Number 1 player to look for, number 13, Leonid Kiryakov. They say he's a bruising runner. We'll find out. The kicker, number 6, Andrei Sheglov, also got a great leg. For the American Patriots, captain of the team, Mike Dwyer. He's a veteran of that U.S.-Russia game in Sydney a few years ago. The quarterback of the team, though, David New, number 7. He's the guy to watch. So now it's time for us to trolley over to Kezar Stadium for the opening kickoff. We'll do that after the break. So stay with us on the Deuce. Rugby World is brought to you by AT&T International Long Distance. We help put your world within reach. And by Canterbury of New Zealand, still the world's toughest activewear.
Your true world back home has many beautiful faces, not just one or two. That's why AT&T created True World Savings, giving you our best prices to everyone in your special country. Get great discounts every weekend, every weekday, every day, to everyone. Don't leave anyone out, and don't wait. Sign up now for True World Savings, only from AT&T.
Your true voice.
In a world of rugged individuals, only one is the toughest mother of them all. Mother Gert Boyle, maker of Tough Mother jeans.
Welcome to Kezar Stadium in San Francisco, California for this International Rugby League match between the United States and Russia. Opening kickoff for the American Patriots and the Russian Bears. It's number 6, Sheglov, kicking the ball down.
The game is
Taken
on.
very nicely by New, and it's George Irwin carrying the ball up for the United States. This is first down of 6.
Remember in Rugby
Wayne
League,
Grady here
sit
from
down,
Houston,
then the ball
Texas will now
turns
take the
over.
ball up. He takes it himself, and Phil,
Mike Everidge is with the ball.
oh, there's a knockout right off the bat. Mistake by the United States.
Yeah, bad mistake. Ball security's often been a problem for the USA. It's a pretty nervous start by both teams, I think, though. They'll settle down soon.
You just can't turn the ball over. If you're going to do it 5th or 6th down, there's the time to do it, not in 2nd down. And this is a scrum down. This ball will come right out. Russians on the attack.
On the attack.
Number 3. Dumanikin on a break.
Breakaway.
Russians making some good ground here early. Phil, they look very disciplined. We saw that in practice.
Yeah, they've been practicing their set moves. They want to spin the ball wide.
Here they come, number 13, not carrying the ball up. Kirakov, he looks like a big, good athlete there. Again, the Russians have been playing league 5 years longer than the U.S., and there's a penalty infraction. The referee, Stuart Cummings, caught Tony Flay with a shot to the head here. Not a very smart play by Flay. Gives the Russians an easy kick in front of the post. Sheglov with the attempt. The kick is up, and it's good. So the Russians on the board, 2-0.
Yeah, and speaking of that win, that's about a 10-point breeze blowing behind the US team. They've got the breeze behind them. They can't afford to make mistakes like that. They should go in at half-time with at least a 10-point lead with that win behind them. Now they've got 2 points to make up already.
So the United States will now kick the ball off. David New, Aston, Pennsylvania, former Australian Winfield Cup player for St. George. And here comes Russia on the attack again. Good tackling there by the United States. It's Wayne Grady on the tackle. It's number 5 for the U.S., Wayne Reed also getting in there. Number 6 for the U.S., Keith Cassidy. A couple straight tackles for him. Russians look very thorough in their attack. Now they're spinning it out wide. Oh, good tackle, good hit there. That's number 12 for the U.S., Doug Erickson. And now the U.S. has got the ball. Here comes Wayne Reed from Houston on the attack. And feeding the ball out here, Mike Dwyer, the captain for the United States. He'll start it. Dwyer, a veteran of Patriot campaigns down in Sydney, and the Russians quickly eat him up.
As you can see, this is the power game.
Here comes Tony Flay. That's into number 8, George Irwin, carrying the ball up. Flay again, trying to get the Russians off. Uh-oh, here comes Big Fred. Fred Grueller. Good break there, Fred. This is his first international game. That was a good break.
That's the first time I've seen Fred, and he looks very good. Very big, strong, fast player.
George Irwin. United States with some good physical play here, Phil. They've advanced the ball very nicely. Here's a good spin out. All the way out here to the wing. That's number 4, Mark May from Houston, Texas. And after 6 downs.
So that's a poor option there. It was probably a better option to kick the ball into the end zone, try and pin Russia in their own end zone.
Well, that's what David New's out there for, and you get away from David New, and the U.S. doesn't have that experience. So Mark May from Houston marking the Russian players there. There's some good tackling. Russians with some good forward progress. Oh, and almost a spin out, a little hesitation there. David New right on the tackling there. Fred Grueller now marking. So now the Russians will try and take it upfield. There's a good break by number 12. Karnov, he's from Moscow, 27 years old, one of the older players in the field. And here comes Russia with the kick to touch. So they took advantage of their 6 down, Phil, and picked up 45, 50 yards.
Yeah, that's the basic tactic in rugby league.
Here comes number 12, Karnov, up the field, big man. George Irwin takes him down pretty good, though. Nice hit by George Irwin. That's the way to take a guy down to the turf. Scrum down now, United States put in, but Stuart Cummings sees somebody with a little blood on him. He'll send him into the blood bin. A little break in the action here. More Rugby League on the Deuce after this.
It wasn't the shoes, or some impossible diet, or even all those early morning runs that got me to the finish line. It was when I stopped making excuses and finally spent those 5 measly bucks.
Now you can join Bally's Health Club for just $5 to start. So whatever your finish line, if you can get here, you can get there. Stop making excuses and join Bally's Health Club for only $5 to start. Call 1-800-WORKOUT now.
It was the time when the only thing faster than the cops were the cars. And the only thing faster than the cars were the girls. Showtime presents Rebel Highway, an original series based on the cult classic films of the 50s. Take a ride on the wild side. Explore the Rebel Highway, only on Showtime.
The lions have homed in on the gazelle. Now begins nature's oldest game. Running at full speed, the hunter and the hunted zigzag across the plain in a frenzied race for life. The lion gets close enough to get a paw on the gazelle, but our agile friend, with a final burst of speed, eludes his captor. This time,
Doug Flutie leads the Calgary Stampeders against the Las Vegas Posse tonight on ESPN2.
The evolution of sports news.
And now we turn to hunting and gathering.
Equus Ludi.
The battle between good and evil continued last night. In bear baiting today. In fox hunting.
At the rodeo last night.
Today's baseball scores.
In the World Football League.
Sports Night. What's next in sports news? College Football Edition, Saturdays at 4 on ESPN2.
Welcome back to Kezar Stadium, where the Russians lead the Americans by a score of 2-0. After a touchback, the Russians will drop kick the ball out. Sheglov's kick taken by Jeff Preston. Boy, does he love that. Well, he just foams at the mouth with the opportunity to run forward, run into people. I think Jeff would rather run into people than around him. Number 14 for the U.S., Ray Loiso. Number 7, here comes New. Flay, a little crossover. Boy, they went right to Flay's face. There's a nice play. Mark May spinning it out. It's number 11, Zacharias. And there's Fred. Really, they just can't take him off his feet. So this is where they got to watch it here.
And the USA really needs to score here. If the Russians keep them out with 12 downs in a row, that's psychologically very good for the Russians. The US needs to score.
Here comes Tony Flay, cut back. Tony Flay almost got in there. Nice cut back. And here's David New, the quarterback, now in control. Who's he going to give it to? Back inside to Big Fred. Boy, I think the Russians were waiting for Big Fred.
I think they've seen that one before.
I don't think you're going to see Fred going outside too often. So here's Flay. Last down, Flay. Oh, right on the goal line. And he's held up, which means the Russians held the Americans again.
That's a handover to the Russians. And again, it's a bad option on the last tackle. That ball should have gone to David New for a kick.
Even on the 5-yard line like that?
Even on the 5-yard line. Just a little dribble into the end zone, tackle the player that takes the ball, and you get another 6 tackles.
So the USA, one experienced player in the field. Look at the tackling there by Gino Seegers, number 17, and Fred Gruller. Those are 2 big men. They both go 235, 240. Look at that straight arm right there. Look at this Russian player. Now that's a player, Phil. That guy has got some quickness.
Yeah,
that's number 13. That's Kurov. Number 3, we've seen a lot of him already today. That's Dumanikin. Oh, look at that. The Russian player pulled the American off there. That's Flay. Here's a kick, a pop kick. So if they get this ball in the air, they're going to get 6 new downs.
It's Rugby League's version of the bomb, and what you're really hoping for there is a mistake, but the Russians were offside and they didn't allow the receiver a chance to catch the ball, so they've been penalised.
Here's Kiryakov. He won't get a penalty for that. He just straight-armed Jeff Preston. Preston won't like that. Kiryakov is a good player. You can see that. Here's Tony Flay, Ocean City, New Jersey. Out to big Gino Seegers.
That's a good run from Gino. Good, strong run, but taking 3 tacklers to bring him down.
Yeah, he gets up, plays the ball pretty quickly. We aren't playing the ball quick enough. Here comes Fred Gruller. Look at Fred. I mean, that's charging low.
Another good run, and he's playing the ball reasonably quickly.
Here comes Tony from dummy half, taking it himself. Tony Flay with the break. The United States scores.
That's unbelievable. I never thought I'd see Tony Flay do that. What a step. I'll have to call him Twinkle Toes now.
Tony not known for his quickness, but I don't think the Russians expected him to dummy the ball outside.
This is a very simple touchdown, but like a lot of touchdowns in American football, it was set up by the way Tony Flay's been playing the whole game. He's been drifting across, passing to someone running off him. This time he drifted across, didn't pass, went himself, caught the Russians napping.
And so the United States on the board. That's a pretty easy score considering what they've been through. That makes the score 4-2. Hey, and Mays got the kick up and good. We'll have more Rugby League action after this.
Rugby World Cup. How tough do you have to be to pull it off? This tough. Canterbury of New Zealand, the world's toughest activewear and official supplier to the All Blacks.
Welcome back to Kezar Stadium. The United States lead the Russians 6-2, but the United States just turned it over. And the USA squandered another opportunity. Look how quickly they play the ball. Nice dummy fake there. Boy, there's no U.S. defense. Look at this. Number 6, the kicker, Andrei Sheglov, and they're still on their feet. Number 2, Rokov.
I'm going to have to reassess Tony Flay's speed because he was back there to make that tackle.
Now there's a penalty. Wayne Reed holding the Russian player down. He got called by Stuart Cummings, the referee. But watch this break. Sheglov, the kicker, a little fake on the outside, sees the hole and takes off. I just can't believe there's that much of a hole there in the defense, and that's because the guys are staggered and not shoulder to shoulder across the field. But here comes the tackle. Britton Kaufman, the last line of defense, slows him down enough for Tony Flay, and the USA dodged a bullet there.
US defense is going to have to be right on the ball here because the Russians have already made a few breaks, and this is about the first time they've been inside the 20 with a good chance to score.
And there's number 12, the first sacrifice, Sergei Konev. Here comes the kicker, number 6, to number 10, Yamolov. One of those 22-year-old students. He's from Moscow. Here come, nice play here. This is a spin-off. Number 13 scores a try. That's a nice play, Phil. That was a set play, too, I think.
Well, the Russians saw what I just saw. The US didn't number up on their defensive right-hand side. There was more Russians out there than Americans. All they had to do was send the ball to the Russian left, the US right, and they were going to score because the US didn't count the numbers and get as many guys out there as the Russians had.
So we got a tie score now, 6-6. This is a 2-point conversion coming up from a stiff angle, and I'd say with the wind conditions in his face swirling from this angle, Phil, this is a tough task. He gets it up. It is short. Cold evening here at Kezar, but not a bad crowd on hand rooting for the U.S. Here's the kickoff by David New. 6-6 score here in this international test match, and the Russians are coming right back at us, and they go out of bounds with the ball. It's a major mistake, Phil. You should cut back there to avoid that.
Yeah, Kiriakov just undid some of the best work that he's done in the game by running out of bounds.
Scrum down, American put in. Unlike Union, they allow you to put the ball right into your feet, and the idea is here they don't want the ball being in the scrum, and they want the ball out amongst the backs and some good play. More of an entertaining form of play.
Yeah, the rules were relaxed a few years ago. You used to have to put the ball right in the middle, but the team feeding usually won anyway, so now they've relaxed the rules to the point where it just goes in and comes out.
The U.S. on attack. Mike Dwyer getting pulled back by the Russians, and here comes second down. Number 6, Keith Cassidy, towards the right sideline. Here comes Tony Flay, dummy half in. Tony tries to take it himself. Gets 5-8 yards. Here comes David New. New's more of the quarterback of the field, Phil.
That's right. He has all the experience. He played with St. George in the Winfield Cup. He sets up the play as he did for Fred Gruller there. The only problem is the Russians probably know that, and they'll be sweating on the players who are running off David New.
You got to believe Fred Griller's been a pretty exhausted man by the end of this game, and there's his bookend made, his other Marine Corps buddy, Jeff Preston. They've been making some pretty good ground forward, but the U.S. just can't seem to capitalize and score on this. Well, there's a bad pass.
Yeah, it's falling down in the fundamentals. The last pass doesn't stick.
Oh, there's a mistake. It's a penalty. Must have been an offsides play there.
Yeah, he was offside. He's in front of the kicker. He has to stay back 10 yards from the man receiving the ball.
So the Russians will take this, Andrei Sheglov, and he'll just get this ball to touch and then restart the play. Here comes the ball, come back in quickly.
There's a danger sign there for the USA. The Russian kicking game's quite good into the wind. In the second half, they'll have that wind behind them unless it drops, and that's a danger sign for the US. If their kicks are that good into the wind, how will they go with the wind?
Well, second down coming up for the Russian Bears here at Kezar Stadium. Oh, there's a break, number 8. That's Garfulin. He almost got through. This is fourth down. Pretty good setup here. Oh, there's a tough play. That's number 13 who scored the first try. Kuryov. He's a tough man. Straight arm. Look like he's played some football.
Kuryakov, like I said before, their best athlete, obviously.
Oh, there's a fumble. Now there's a knock forward. 6-6 score here between the United States and Russia. When we come back, more Rugby League action from Kezar. Stay with us.
Thanks for coming out tonight, man. 皆さんこんばんは。テレビを見てる皆さん、いかがお過ごしですか？
Good evening.
これからカンタベリーニュージーランドの選手
May
で
I
ある
present the famous Canterbury of New Zealand rugby jersey?
この美しく仕上がった
A beautifully constructed garment from the home of the legendary All Blacks. It is simply impossible to break.
非常に丈夫なものです。
Canterbury of New Zealand, the world's most hard-wearing activewear.
どうもありがとうございます。
Thank you.
Welcome back to Kezar Stadium, where the Russians have just taken the lead over the United States by a score of 7-6 on a drop goal. David New of the U.S. kicks off, kicks it out of bounds. Here's the drop goal. Sheglov, number 6. Watch him come over here now. He's got a stiff breeze in his face. We said the guy's got a good foot. Look at this kick, 35 yards. Dead wind in his face, up and good. That breaks the deadlock. It's now 7-6 Russia over the United States. On the attack, in comes the fullback. That's number 1, Karlamov. Good defense here by the U.S. Here's a big hit. Number 10 for the U.S., Fred Gruller. Boy, he's getting a workout. And here comes number 9, Sergei Grindev.
And that was a waste of that good tackle by Gruller because poor marker defense let the dummy half get 10 yards then.
So the Russians are pinned on the sideline. Ooh. 4 Americans, 3 Americans over there. But look how quickly they still get to their feet. The U.S. got to learn how to hold these guys down a little longer, Phil, because they're getting back up and moving it very quickly.
Yeah, that's something only experience will teach the Patriots, how long they can hold a player down before they're penalised.
Almost blocked. Nice catch by number 4, Mark May.
That's another high tackle. I'm surprised that hasn't been called.
The referee, Stuart Cummings, was right there. He allowed that to play. All the way out. Oh. Number 2, Scott Hansen, couldn't handle that ball. Luckily, he went backwards. Phil, wasn't a knock on, and the USA still advancing.
Yeah, if that had stuck, that's the right play. The Russians are playing a short defensive line, a compressed defensive line. They're relying on shuffling across field with the ball, and that's the right play to get outside them, but the ball has to stick.
Mike Evergen, here's typical of the U.S. They do very well until about the Russian 10, 15-yard line. Then they find a way to make a mistake and give the ball up. Here's a little roll around, and Flay gives it up again there. And there, another turnover. So last couple of times down, Tony Flay turned the ball over. There's a Russian player down, but play will go on. They will not stop for this. Look at number 6 for Russia. Sheglov, the kicker, he's pretty tough. Who isn't tough in the field, huh?
No one who plays rugby league.
Just keep track of all these tackles and all this contact. Pretty ferocious game, and there's 3 Americans in the tackle. It's May, number 4, number 2, Scott Hansen, and Zacharias on the bottom, number 11. Russians on the attack. There's a collision. That wasn't Sergeant Slaughter, that was Fred Gruler. They do look alike. They got the shoulder pads on, and they tackle a lot like, don't they, Phil?
They sure do, and they run the same way, too. They both like running into people.
Hey, Mike Evergen wrapping him up very nicely there. Evergen, a good athlete from Newport Beach, California. But Russia really making some advances, and then the Russians make a mistake. Here comes Scott Hansen.
That's good speed to the loose ball there by Hansen.
And here comes Mike Dwyer, Captain Mike Dwyer, recently married. Got married and got June 20th. Down goes to number 6 out there for the U.S.
The Russian defensive line is playing in compressed. They're in very tight. That's why the Americans are running into so many tackles all the time. But they're playing to the Russian hands by turning the ball back inside all the time. They should be spreading it wide.
Well, the U.S. continues to throw the big man at him. Flay feeding it out to the quarterback, David New. New gets caught with the ball himself. And there's 4 Russians there, Phil. You're right. Seems like the Russians are
They're just waiting in the middle of the field.
There's Tony Flay with the kick. And now the Russians on the counterattack. I don't think Flay will get him. Flay's not really a back out there.
That's still a good chase. They've pinned him down pretty close to his line.
Ray Luiso, number 14. He's from Carson, California. There he is again. 2 tackles in 30 seconds. And there's Ray Luiso again. He's got 3 tackles in 45 seconds. So Ray, he's getting some good playing minutes here.
Yeah, that was good play. That's the kind of thing that'll get noticed from the coaches.
And number 3, Mike Dwyer, just missed a tackle. He doesn't do that too often. And there's a free ball out here.
That should be 6 more tackles for Russia, actually. An American hand touched the ball there, and if the ball's touched by the other team, then you get the 6 downs start again.
Good hit there.
And Mike Dwyer and David New.
Yeah, some veterans.
I think I'm starting to see a little fatigue on the court. A big spin out to the end.
So here comes the Russians in the attack. They went backwards, that long pass out there. Look at Fred Gruler.
Well, Fred Gruler missed them. The guy ducked under it.
Number 13.
Boy, that number 13 is a tough dude. Kurikov has scored that first try for the Russians. Here they come up to the hole. No, any time left in the clock, and it's a missed tackle by the fullback, and Antonov scored. There's no time left in the clock here, Phil.
That's a great pass from Andrei Koryabin. Any of the Winfield Cup players like Glenn Lazarus or Jason Stevens would be proud of that pass. Brilliant pass to send away number 5, Gennady Antonov, for the try.
So the Russians are now in the lead 11-6 with the conversion coming up.
It shows the importance of that field goal. If he kicks this, that'll give him a 7-point lead. That's more than a touchdown and the kick after. That means the Americans have to score at least twice to get ahead.
Kick is up. It's good.
Well, that gives them a 7-point break.
And that's it. That was the last play of the first half.
So as we take a look at Alcatraz, the Russians lead the Americans 13-6.
The International Rugby Report is brought to you by Canterbury of New Zealand, still the world's toughest activewear.
The triumphant Wallabies were besieged with their fans today in central Sydney as they showed off the spoils of victory. Everyone wanted the signature of Australia's newest sporting hero, the Bledisloe Cup saving tackle, now a part of sporting folklore.
Great run, Wilson. He was over for all money. Who got his hand in there? I think it was Gregan. Beautiful.
I was staying inside him because I saw him step a few people. I didn't want him to step inside me, so I sort of showed him the sideline, and he went for the corner, and I just went as fast as I could for that corner, and then I just launched myself at him. And
in the first half, it had been all Australia. 16 seconds into the game, the All Blacks were stunned.
Howarth underneath, Little!
When Wallaby captain Phil Kearns added the second, Australia were up to 17-6 with half-time approaching. Just before the break, George Gregan made the first of 3 incredible tackles as bad boy prop Richard Lowe charged. Lowe!
George Gregan! What a tackle! The littlest man took on the biggest man.
he looked like a big bear running at me, and I just sort of thought, what am I going to do here? So I just got down low and made the tackle.
In the second half, the New Zealand back rowers dominated the rucks and mauls, winning valuable possession. Finally, the gold jerseys were split.
Jeff Howard!
With 4 minutes to go, Australia led 20-16. The All Blacks needed a try to win.
Wilson and Smith. Lovely step. Wilson. Yes. Oh, he lost the ball.
That was the Bledisloe Cup tackle. Today, with that hunk of silverware, the 15 men who won it were receiving the accolades they deserve.
Thank you. Rugby World Cup. How tough do you have to be to pull it off? This tough. Canterbury of New Zealand, the world's toughest activewear and official supplier to the All Blacks.
In a world of rugged individuals, only one is the toughest mother of them all. Mother Gert Boyle, maker of Tough Mother jeans.
Forget shouldn't or should have.
On your mark.
Wouldn't or could have.
Get set.
Might have but didn't. Can't but should. Someday I may. Love to but haven't. I would if you would. I wish that I did. Truth is, you can if you want to.
And they're off.
And you will if you do.
The city of San Francisco was a gracious host for the Russian and American Rugby League teams. Receptions were thrown at the Washington Square Bar and Grill and Paddle Shaves. But when it came time to practice, it was out to the polo grounds for some serious action. The American Patriots and Russian Bears weren't the only rugby league game in town. The pregame was between the Los Angeles Condors here in white and the Texas Rough Riders in black. Los Angeles dominated the first half, scoring 2 or 3 tries early. Referee Stuart Cummings called the first. Then it was Mike O'Keefe from 45 yards away. Bang! That put LA up 14-0 early in the first half. Early in the second half, LA scored again. Score now was 20-0. Things didn't look good for Texas, but out of nowhere, they found some kind of spark. The Rough Riders got on the board here. They scored 3 times in the second half, converted on all 3 tries, but it wasn't enough. Final score, LA 20, Texas 18. Early in the second half here between the USA and Russia, Russia leads 13-6.
Here comes Fred Gruller. How many times have we seen Fred Gruller charge? I mean, he's been tackled 25 times tonight.
There's a lot of hit-ups, Fred Gruller. It's called a hit-up when you just take the ball straight up like that.
Number 4, Mark May from Houston got rumbled back. There was no marker on him, so that's why the Russian tackled him from behind.
A lot of trouble holding onto the ball there.
So in comes number 15 for the U.S., David Brown, 5 yards out from that line.
There's still not a lot of creativity in the U.S. attack, though.
Ball's out. Here comes the American.
From David New to about the 2 or 3 yard line.
David was really looking for someone running off his right side there, and there was no one there.
Here comes Tony Flay.
And Tony's been held up over the line. Now, that's not so bad. That means the US gets a scrum feed out on the 10-yard line. He's been held up. He has to touch the ball down to score, but he's been held up by the defense. But the US gets the ball back, so that gives them another 6 downs, and they're only 10 yards out.
Boy, they've been knocking on this door. They've been down here in the red zone for so much time. They come away with no points. The crowd comes to their feet. They want to see a U.S. score here. There's a nice little switchback, but Phil, you keep bringing it up. They keep going back to the Russian strength.
Yeah, that's all. The defense would have been moving across from the scrum there and turning the ball back inside to Mike Dwyer, is just presenting him to about 6 tacklers.
Mike Everidge to the 7. Everidge to Flay here. Flay passes it out to New. There's a little run around all the way out. There's a good play. Jeff Preston down to the 1 yard line.
It was a good last-ditch tackle by the Russian there. If he missed, Preston was in.
Ray Lariso. Oh, Ray didn't get in either. Here's Flay. Flay's in.
And Tony Flay, try number 2. That's a good dummy half try.
So the United States finally cracks this Russian defense, and they did it up the middle, too.
Well, this is another simple touchdown for Tony Flay. Just a straight run from dummy half. Has the experience to dive underneath the Russian defense. I thought after he scored the first try that Tony was overplaying his hand a bit, going himself from dummy half, but that try's a just reward, and if he can put another one on the board, well, it could send the USA on the way to victory.
It's back down to that 1-point game, 13-12. More Rugby League action from Kizo. Welcome back to the Deuce and coverage of USA-Russian Rugby League, this international test match, first ever between these two countries. Penalty.
Now, that's a bad call, I think. The referee was unsighted. The ball came out. He's assumed it was raked out, but the Russian just lost it. This gives the Russians a chance. They've got another penalty. They've advanced down the field on penalties, basically. They'll kick. They'll probably gain 10, 15 yards, and they'll be right on the US line.
Carl them off, little punch. Now they're down to about the 10-yard line. 6 downs. First and goal from the 10.
Basically, that's what it is, and it's a goal line stand for the US. They're only a point behind. They can't afford to let in another touchdown here.
So it's number 9, Sergei Grindarov. He starts the play. There's the big pileup of stars and stripes. Mike Everidge in the bottom. Here comes number 15, making a good crash to the goal line. Finally knocked off his feet. Dave Brown there from Houston with a good tackle, number 15. Brown marking him. Oh, and here comes one of the big guys. Oh, right up the middle. That's a set play there. That was a nice play.
That's a set play, and it's very close to an illegal play. As Tony tells you at the start of every game, there's no blocking in Rugby League, and a couple of those decoys that went through almost acted as blockers. That could well have been penalised.
That's the big man for his second try, Kiryakov. And so Tony Flay and Kiryakov have tried, double tries. Comes the kick by Shegloff. Good in every attempt except for one, and there it is. That's his 7th point of the evening.
Well, I guess now we get to see what these boys from the States are made of. Over here, internationally.
Mark May to kick off for the United States following the score by the Russians. They have the lead 19-12, and they've got 6 downs. Who shows up first for the United States? It's Wayne Reed, Dave Brown, both of Houston. On the mark, though, is Zach Herreras.
It's a good hit by Gino Seegers. He's certainly learned how to tackle rugby league style since his experience in New Zealand. Totally different from when he played defensive end at Winston-Salem.
There's a turnover.
by the Russians deep in their own end. So this will be a scrum down. U.S. throwing.
That's right. The Russians put the ball out of bounds. The U.S. get to put the ball in the scrum. They should win it.
Scrum down to the United States. The Russians kicked it out of bounds. And David New is the feed, and it's out. Good fake by New, but they ate him up. Again, they're still pressing too much towards that Russian defense.
Player just fell over there. We need more than these one-out plays.
Oh, there's going to be a problem with the exchange there. That's Ray Lariso.
Well, as we see that again, you know, once again, Russia could have been penalised there. There was a bit of Russian interference in that play of the ball. That probably helped the fumble, but one thing you've got to do in rugby league is that the first man to handle the ball is called the dummy half. He stands there behind the play of the ball. He has to make sure, if nothing else, he has a clean pickup.
Well, there's the stud for the Russian team. Kirillov, he's really been a stud. And there comes a counterattack back for the Russians, and there's Fred Grueller, one arm, taking him down. News on top of him. Tell you, Fred Grueller, for a big man's played some game. He's been all over the field. Oh, there's a fumbled pickup by the United States. Dave Brown. And he's calling a penalty here. No, he's calling the back 10, just back 10. Here comes the U.S. in their first 6. Out to the sidelines.
You can see there that the Russians now had a number up. They had as many defenders out there as there was attackers. They saw the short side was the way that the U.S. was going to go, and they had people out there.
Dave Brown learning that you don't run into 2 guys like that. Gives the ball up. Another turnover for the United States. Boy, let's see what the minus and pluses are in this game. I'm sure the U.S. has turned it over a lot more than the Russians. But as I say that, the Russians turned it back over. So maybe a little fatigue here with about 12 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah, I think the stress of the game is starting to show on the players. The ball security is not as good as it was earlier in the second half.
Scrum down, David New with the put in. Up, I think the referee's calling offsides on the Russians.
Yes, Kirillkov's come out of the scrum too soon, and he was offside.
Another great opportunity for the United States to close the gap here. Late in the game, after about 150 tackle, probably 190 tackles between the 2 teams, 190 collisions. I think the boys are getting a little winded.
Yeah. There's a lot of tackling in rugby league, easily over 200 tackles in a game. A lot of players making 30 to 40 tackles individually.
Stuart Cummings, I don't know if how he's communicating with the Russian players. The only person that speaks any English is their female interpreter, and she's not on the field. There's Big Gino trying to get to the goal line. That's on the 3-yard line, the first of 6 downs. And here comes Tony Flay out to distribute the ball. Fred Grueller, and they've got Big Fred pretty well marked on that one.
Yeah, they've seen that 20 or 30 times tonight. Now, in struggling to break the tackle, he's lost the ball.
Another turnover on the 1-yard line for the United States. They've done that at least 4 or 5 times tonight. And Phil, if you take away those turnovers inside the 5-yard line, the United States could be really dominating this game.
Yeah, just like American football, turnovers will kill you.
Oh, Fred Grueller with a big hit on number 5. That's Antonov. He scored that breakaway try at the end of the first half, and he's down. And I think we have a little penalty here. And Stuart Cummings is giving a little advice to Fred to keep the tackles low. Fred walks away, but it's going to be another penalty to Russia. They're going to kick this ball up the field a little bit and have the opportunity to start 6 down somewhere around midfield.
Yeah, the tackle didn't look that high to me, actually. Stuart was motioning that he jammed his head on the ground, so it might have been for that. It didn't look like that high tackle. It looked like a good hit to me.
Yeah, it was a good hit, but he called him for the high tackle. And oh, no, that's what he called him for. Fred Grueller, right there. Little extracurricular activity. Stuart Cummings called it very properly, and Fred just got caught. Now the United States are down about 8 minutes to go in the game. They need a break here.
Yeah, turnover by the Russians now would help the U.S. a great deal.
There's a good tackle right there by Gino Seegers. Threw the guy right back. There's the Russians on the attack. A little missed tackle there. Oh! Now that is form tackling. That's Doug Erickson. Nice play, but that's almost obstruction there, Phil.
Yeah, the Russians have been getting away with that all night. Now they've got a big break out of it.
Yeah, they're on the attack. That was a good run. Number 3, we've seen him all night too. That's Dumanikin. And here comes the Russians, number 6. That's their kicker, Sheglov. He's got a couple of American Patriots all over him. That's big Fred Gruller and Tony Flay. Number 7 now with the ball. Number 2 for the Soviet Union, Rokov. And they're pressing again, 10 yards out. Last tackle, drop kick.
Another attempted field goal. That would have spread the margin to 8 points, but it's missed. So the US get the ball back on their 20.
So the US dodged another bullet there, down by 7, with less than 7 minutes to go in this contest on the deuce.
In a world of rugged individuals, only one is the toughest mother of them all. Mother Gert Boyle, maker of tough mother jeans.
Your true world back home has many beautiful faces, not just one or two. That's why AT&T created True World Savings, giving you our best prices to everyone in your special country. Get great discounts every weekend, every weekday, every day, to everyone. Don't leave anyone out, and don't wait. Sign up now for True World Savings, only from AT&T.
Your true voice.
Man, have we changed. And you like what you see at DJ's. Our clothes have changed. Our stores have changed. It's time you make the change to the new DJ's. We've made so many changes. It's like we took a remote to the whole store. DJ's.
The lions have honed in on the gazelle. Now begins nature's oldest game. Running at full speed, the hunter and the hunted zigzag across the plain in a frenzied race for life. The lion gets close enough to get a paw on the gazelle, but our agile friend, with a final burst of speed, eludes his captor. This time,
Doug Flutie leads the Calgary Stampeders against the Las Vegas Posse tonight on ESPN2.
Welcome back to Kezar Stadium, where the Russian Bears lead the American Patriots by a score of 19-12 with only 7 minutes to go.
The Russians now will start their 6 downs. Midfield, probably going to be pretty conservative with the ball, wouldn't you think, Phil?
Yes, all they really need to do is play out their 6, put in a good kick, and then defend.
Number 8, we haven't seen much of him tonight. Garfulin.
I've got to commend you, John, on the job you've done with these Russian names.
Yeah. Here's our stud again for Russia. I really like his ability as an athlete. He has been all over the field, offense and defense. He scored 2 tries. Kiryokov is my MVP for the Soviets, excuse me, for the Russians.
Yes, he certainly had a very good game. Very strong player.
Now this is
very
running across the field, Phil. That's a rugby union no-no. You shouldn't do that. You can't do it in league. And they didn't like it in union. Here's a break. Number 12, Karnev.
Well, that's a try gone begging. If that ball had stuck, the Russians were in, and that would have been the end of the game. The US still has a chance. They should get the ball back from a scrum here.
Good break by the Russians, though. They saw that hole, and it's probably fatigue for the United States, but Wayne Reed from Houston makes a good comeback, disrupts this play here. Or again, Phil, you're right, that could have been another try for the Russians. USA doesn't have a lot of time left.
Now there's a 10-yard scrum, and the USA has the feed.
Over 200 collisions or tackles in this game. There's the feed. The USA loses their own feed, and the Russians go knocking on. Very sloppy.
Yeah. Players getting very tired now. But that again showed the Russians went in with a big push in the scrum, and the US wasn't ready for it.
You're going to miss one hell of an upset.
Now they get the scrum feed, so obviously they're saying that the USA knocked on first.
Number 7, Gavrilin, has got the ball out to number 6, the kicker. There was a lot of action tonight, Sheglov, and he's down. Good tackling there by USA captain Mike Dwyer. Soviets in third down. Now this is number 3. We've seen a lot of him tonight. Duminikin, and the U.S. again with their backs to the wall. Another goal line stand here.
And they've had to do a lot of tackling in the last 5 to 10 minutes.
There's a missed tackle here, but the Russian player running across the field doesn't accomplish anything.
Great hit by Doug Erickson then.
And the Russians still trying to...
Another good tackle by Doug Erickson.
Still trying to find a hole in the U.S. defense. There's been some holes. They've had some breaks, but the U.S. defense has been, hasn't broke too often. Here's number 8, another good tackle. And that's it. Game's over.
Yes, full time. Russia wins.
First time these two countries have ever met in international competition in Rugby League 13s. And the Russian Bears have beat the American Patriots 19-12. A very good game, a little sloppy in the end. On hand from the British Rugby League, Chief Executive Maurice Lindsay. He was impressed.
First of all, the Russians, I think, are improving dramatically. They're coming along leaps and bounds, bearing in mind that they've only been playing the game now for 3 years and get very little international competition. I think they're improving game by game. The Americans, well, they've got no one to play Rugby League against, so I think it was a tremendous tribute to them that they performed so well. Obviously, fitness, perhaps on both sides, needs to improve to get to top international level, but a great prospect.
I'm here with 2 American players, a little disappointed. Mike Dwyer, the captain. Mike, you guys were down there knocking on the door many times, just couldn't put it in.
Yeah, we made a lot of mistakes when we shouldn't have, probably. It comes down to experience, and the Russians have more experience, and 8 points more experience than us right there.
Tony, you've been on the World Cup Union side, and here in this historical match, scoring the first try for the Patriots, pretty thrilling, but at the same time, I'm sure you're disappointed because you were down there so much yourself.
Yeah, it's tough for the players to come together in such a short, space of time, and I'm proud of them. It was a step up the ladder. Next time out, we'll be a much better team, and I'm proud of my guys.
Tony's got good reason to be proud of his American Patriot teammates. This exemplifies the way the Patriots played all night long here. 10 yards up the field, good run. Flay, Canoe, to averaging 10, 15 more yards at a clip. They ran up and down the field, but they couldn't score. Turnovers, like in football, killed the Patriots. You'll see a turnover here. Our final thoughts from Kezar after this.
In a world of rugged individuals, only one is the toughest mother of them all. Mother Gert Boyle, maker of Tough Mother jeans.
Your true world back home has many beautiful faces, not just 1 or 2. That's why AT&T created True World Savings, giving you our best prices to everyone in your special country. Get great discounts every weekend, every weekday, every day, to everyone. Don't leave anyone out, and don't wait. Sign up now for True World Savings, only from AT&T.
Your true voice.
Rugby World is brought to you by AT&T International Long Distance. We help put your world within reach. And by Tough Mother Jeans from Columbia Sportswear, the mother of all jeans. One night's full moon over the Bay Bridge concludes a wonderful evening of Rugby League competition, a historic Rugby League competition. USA lost 19-12, Phil, but at least they got their feet wet, and I think it was a pretty competitive game.
Yes, and it sets up the series. It sets up a possible confrontation next year in the Rugby League World Cup. And I think that this could become the Northern Hemisphere's version of State of Origin football. There was a lot of tough players in that game, and this was the toughest.
Rugby World's Tough Plays, brought to you by Columbia Sportswear's Tough Mother Jeans, the mother of all jeans. A lot of tough plays out there, but the toughest player in the field, Kiryakov of Russia, straight-arming Jeff Preston. The toughest play of the day, the Russians setting up here for the go-ahead try here that put them on top for good. Last play of the first half. Number 5, the speedster, Antonov, breaks the U.S. backline and goes in for the score that beat the Americans. Eliminate this play here, the United States might have a chance to win. Well, this was our final program of Rugby World, our 16-week series this year. So for my colleague Phil Noonan, I'm John Morgan. Thanks for watching us on The Deuce. Accommodations in San Francisco provided by the York and Lombard Hotels through the San Francisco Sports Council.
Second down, here comes David Slaughter again.